Peace. What's happening, good people? This gift here for pay us no mind. And today, we got some news. We got Spotify adding a monetization threshold that will restrict who earns on Spotify. Now, bear with me, y'all. I'm a bit under the weather today, so I'm trying to get through it. But yeah, man, I had to jump on because this is big news. And I wanted to kind of tap in with everybody and break down what's happening. Right? Now, before I dive in, I'm going to say somebody give me a thumbs up to make sure that the audio is good. That way, I'm not talking for like 15 minutes where nobody can hear me. All right, y'all? I will get better. Yeah, man. But this Spotify news is insane, yo. So, okay. So the rule, right? Here's the way that the new rule will work. Spotify has decided to implement a monetization threshold similar to the way YouTube has a monetization threshold, where with YouTube, you got to get 1,000 subscribers and 3,000 hours watched, or now 500 subscribers and 3,000 hours watched in order to earn revenue. Spotify is planning to implement a similar threshold starting at the beginning of next year. Now, currently, in order for a track to qualify for monetization, the streams have to last longer than 30 seconds. By early next year, that's set to change. Tracks won't be monetized unless they cross a threshold of a target number of annual streams. And Spotify has declined to specify what that number of streams is. But this music blog called Music Business Worldwide cited an inside source as saying that it's designed to demonetize a population of tracks that today on average earn less than 5 cents per month. So going by that, the threshold could be somewhere around 204 streams annually. And those would be the tracks that would get demonetized. Now, the interesting thing about the rule is that it's per track. It is not like in totality. So it's not like if you get over 204 streams overall, like let's say you got 20 tracks or 100 tracks. It doesn't matter what those tracks get collectively. It matters what they get individually. So each track has to generate 204 streams in order for revenue, or in order for it to earn revenue. So if an artist has 100 tracks that generate 190 streams annually, collectively, he would not get paid for those streams. So collectively, artists could be under this threshold of 204 streams a year and still have songs generating like 19,000 streams annually collectively if they got like 100 releases or something like that. And under this rule, they would get nothing for those streams. Now, the argument that they keep making is, oh, this only affects people who only get this amount of streams and only make this amount of money. But me personally, I feel like, yo, it's problematic because one, it opens the door to them being able to just keep increasing the threshold, because at the end of the day, it's about what it's about. And it's not about anything where you could say this is about streaming fraud and we're trying to eliminate fraud. This is exclusively about making sure a certain percentage of artists on the platform make the most money. That's all it's about. Making sure a group of people make more money than another group of people. So based on that, with this rule implemented, if that group of users, meaning the major labels, if the major labels still see, hey, we're not making enough money, then they'll go back and increase that threshold to make sure that they see more money, because that's all it's aimed at, you know? So this is where it's problematic, and where they work to kind of like pit artists against each other is this whole thing. Well, you're gonna see a little bump, right? And all of these artists running around, or these people who are saying that, are trying to pretend to be supportive of artists, are like, yeah, that's right. You know, it only impacts. It's like, nah, man, it's gonna ultimately impact everybody, because they're gonna just keep raising the threshold. But even outside of that, it's just plain wrong. It's wrong, right? For somebody to say, okay, well, you know what? You guys, let's say somebody had a fast food restaurant. If they were like, you know what? You guys all make minimum wage. Minimum wage, you can't afford to make a living off of that. Despite the fact that you on minimum wage and you working 40 hours a week, you guys still got to get on EBT and do all sorts of stuff in order to afford food and things of that nature. So you know what the right thing to do here is? The right thing is to not pay you at all. We're not going to pay you at all. What we're going to do is we're going to take the revenue that you guys work 40 hours a week to make, and we're going to give that to the people in management. All of the managerial employees, they're going to get a raise, and you guys will get zero. But despite the fact that you're not being paid, we still expect you to show up to work every day and put in those 40 hours, because working those 40 hours will contribute to the possibility of you getting promoted. And then when you get promoted, then you'll be able to make money just like the other managers make money. Dude, nobody would show up to work. You know what I'm saying? Who works for free? And the argument that they try to make with this measure is that, hey, you know, YouTube has a monetization threshold, and like in this music business worldwide thing, they cited the fact that digital distributors have thresholds for receiving payment. And to address those things quickly, right? The first issue is the fact that these platforms, right, they do not monetize music that doesn't qualify for monetization. So if you do not qualify for monetization on YouTube, no ads run on your videos. Even though YouTube made the change, like I think last year, where they say, hey, they reserve the right to put ads on a video, no matter if the person qualifies or not. You could still watch mad videos for people under that threshold, and there will not be any ads. And the revenue that YouTube earns from Premiere, or what you call it, the people who pay for YouTube, you know, YouTube premium users, the people who are subscribing to not see ads on YouTube, according to their terms, if you watch a video of a person that is not in the partner program because they don't qualify, but you are a paid subscriber, they pay that person for that view because the person paid to see the video. You know, and other platforms like SoundCloud and things of that nature, hey, we're not going to run ads on your music if you are not in the monetization program. Spotify does not do that. Spotify, their value proposition is that you gain access to an unlimited amount of music for one monthly fee. You spend $10 and you get access to all of this music for $10. And for that $10, you get to have access to offline playback, where you could download that music and you can stream it as often as you want. And that's what people are paying for. That's what people are paying for. So to say, hey, we're not going to pay you when people stream your music that are paying to stream your music is a wild violation. That's a wild violation. And likely illegal, you know, because you got antitrust laws, anti-competition laws, and this is assuredly some type of conspiracy between them and major labels, because Spotify takes their money off top. So splitting this pie between artists, this is a major label thing. This is allowing them to make more money. So, it's likely that this is some type of violation of the Sherman Act, but it's bullying because it's like the artists that they're targeting, it's like, what power do they have? Who's going to go and get a lawyer and sue Spotify for this, right? That's why it's like, well, find the smallest guy in the room, turn him upside down and empty his pockets. That's effectively what this is. Now, what I'm going to talk about now is, why is this happening? Why are they doing this? And to explain, I'm going to get a bit technical, so I need y'all to bear with me. Maybe even grab a pencil and paper, because this is going to be a bit complicated, all right? Well, not complicated, but just, not complicated, not complex, but just a lot, right? So let me dive into this. So right now, Spotify, I'm going to explain how the revenue and everything breaks down. So right now, Spotify generates revenue from ads and subscriptions. That's what their revenue comes from. Ads and subscriptions. Now, that revenue gets pooled together, all of it. So let's say that it's $1,428. That's the revenue that Spotify has generated. $1,428. That's the total revenue. Spotify takes 30% of that revenue for its operating costs. So 30% of that goes to Spotify. So that leaves $1,000 remaining. $1,000 remains. And this becomes the royalty pool that pays all music rights holders on Spotify. And we're talking the owners of the master recordings and the publishing. They all share this same $1,000 pie. Now, payment is determined by their percentage of the total number of streams and not a per stream rate. So to explain that, 70 out of 100 streams is 70% of the total number of streams, resulting in a payment of $700, which is 70% of $1,000. Okay? So 70 out of 100 streams equals 70% of the total number of streams. And because you got 70% of the total number of streams, you get 70% of the revenue, which, with $1,000 being the revenue that everybody is splitting, you would get $700. Now, 70 out of 100 streams equals 70%. But so does 700 out of 1,000 streams, as well as 7,000 out of 10 million streams. As well as 7,000 out of 10,000 streams, and 7 million out of 10 and 7 million streams out of 10 million streams. All of that equals 70%, which means that with a $1,000 royalty pool, you get paid the same $700 for 7 million streams as you would for 70, because it all is 70%. So more streams doesn't equal more revenue. Spotify's revenue has to increase, which means they have to get more subscribers, and the rate has to keep pace with the amount of releases. So, yeah, man, when you think about it, it's like the only way to earn more isn't to simply get more streams. It's to get more streams than everybody else. You got to get more streams than everybody else and earn it in order to earn more. Now, artist for artist, track for track, a digital distributor like TuneCore will not generate enough streams to compete with a major label. But we're not talking about artist for artist or track for track. We're talking about digital distributors pumping out maybe 1,000 artists for every one artist from a major label, or 1,000 releases for every one release from a major label. Collectively, year over year, digital distributors are accounting for a larger and larger percentage of the total number of streams, and consequently, a larger and larger percentage of the revenue. Now, this reduces not only the revenue of major labels, but their leverage and licensing negotiations with Spotify and other digital service providers. So this whole thing, this is the leverage that this is their leverage that they're wielding right now to coerce Spotify and other digital service providers into ensuring that they maintain it by implementing these thresholds. Because technically, man, Spotify could ban releases from digital distributors. They could say, hey, we're not going to accept releases from TuneCore and DistroKid and stuff like that because we want to basically maintain the revenue pool for major labels. They could do that, but they won't. Why? Because that eliminates all of these artists with music that might take that music to a competitor. And then if people go to SoundCloud or Audio Mac or some other service that pops up and they say, hey, I'm finding all of these great new songs here, and they start playlisting it, then they basically grow into not needing Spotify, where it's like, okay, well, I have all of this music that I love in this other place. Why am I on Spotify? So Spotify doesn't want to lose people that would like the music that they're demonetizing. So they're saying, okay, well, so they're saying, hey, we're going to just put this threshold. We're not going to ban it because we need it. It adds value to our platform. So we're just going to demonetize it and create this threshold where the artists will put their music here and just work to make sure that they reach the threshold to monetize it, right? So it's like a monetization threshold allows them to avoid capping the supply of music their users expect to have access to, while also avoiding having to pay for it. And again, the problem with this is why it's happening. It's happening because they just want to pay major labels more money. And when you're doing something for those reasons, the bar just keeps getting raised. You know, if they don't make enough now and they're changing this to say, okay, well, who can we kind of abuse here and get away with it? All right. Or artists who make only this much, you know, we could abuse them and everybody effectively is going to be all right with it. You know, all the other artists are going to be like, well, damn, if I get 10% more, I mean, they need to step their game up, right? Like that's what they need to step their game up. You know, everybody would say that and they get away with it. And then when they get away with that, then they'll abuse those other artists, right? That allowed them to get away with it. And it'll just keep going on and on and on, you know? And I mean, technically, we should all be standing up for each other. Nobody should be allowing anybody to be abused. But hey, man, we tend to not care as much about each other as we pretend to. But in the real world, nobody would effectively allow an employer to say to its employees that they have to work for free, you know, to earn the right to be paid. Hey, man, you know what? We're not going to pay you. I mean, yeah, man, this is wild. This is, it's crazy, you know? Now, what can artists do now? Because in my eyes, streaming is dead for everybody that is outside of the mainstream. And that inevitably, this thing is going to die. And not from the standpoint of not existing, but from the standpoint of being a source of revenue. Because the major labels want to make sure that they keep their hold on revenue. And as AI opens up the door with everybody just making music and dumping it on these streaming platforms, the level of competition is going to increase. It's going to be harder and harder to get streams. The revenue is going to keep dwindling and nobody's going to be able to make money. So I would say for artists now, you have to shift your focus. Go to rehab and get off the stuff. You know, cure your addiction to streams, right? The addiction to, more Spotify streams. It means nothing. You know, you got to start focusing on building out your own thing. We have to go back to artists having their own websites, having their own communities and things of that nature. And yes, that might be difficult to do, but that's where we're at with it. Because if you don't, then you're subject to all of this. Like, so many artists have invested heavily in Spotify, and you have no control there. They do whatever they want. They implement whatever rules they want. They do not care about you at all. They care about serving their corporate masters, and that's about it. Themselves and their pockets. That's where their interest lies. You know? And the whole thing is, hey, well, when you become big enough to be one of our corporate masters, then we'll care about you. And artists have to recognize that and start to move away from that. So it's like, yo, I'm opening myself up and I'm saying, hey, man, if any artists want my personal assistance and helping them build up a website or anything to that effect, reach out to me. You know, I did web design for years, had work featured in because they used to have like WordPress used to have like not blogs, but like templates that were blank that you had to go in and like program. Like they basically had the framework and you had to go in and customize it to create like a website. And I was creating websites for artists using that framework, and they were featuring my work as an example of how their template could be used to create fly websites. So it's like, hey, man, I got a ton of experience there. So if anybody want to reach out to me, man. I help you. Because right now, what you're looking at, you got certain e-commerce solutions that have ready-made templates. So you got Shopify, right? Which I got links to in the description box. You got Shopify, you got Bandzoogle, you got Wix, you got Squarespace. Now, some of them are a bit pricey. Some of them are restrictive where, you know, when it comes to uploading music or having an audio player or something like that. So there's certain ways that you kind of got to navigate it, you know, and some of them, or really all of them, present the idea that it's easier than it actually is, because you still got to have a certain designer eye to create an effective website. And not everybody has that kind of expertise, man. So some of y'all websites is looking wild for the night, man. They looking real crazy. And the thing with why people buy from, you know, iTunes and Amazon and stuff is uniformity. It's like people go there, they know what to expect. They know where the checkout button is. They know where everything is. So artists, you have a website, your stuff is all over the place. They don't know where to find things. The checkout process is different. They got to input their credit card information, all of these different things. So it's important to make that process easy for people, you know, if you can get sales, you know. Now, when it comes to monetizing your music without getting sales, where it's like, okay, well, people just ain't buying it. How can I monetize my music without that? Then it becomes a matter of you looking at it from the point of, okay, well, YouTube. Now, YouTube has all sorts of, it has its own monetization threshold. So you got to look at, okay, well, Content ID, Vivo, those are options. And what's affordable for you to be able to get your music on Vivo. So Vivo will probably be better than Content ID because your videos would likely get premium ads through Vivo. Now, options there, best option, I would say, will probably be Venice. And Venice is a new digital distributor. But yeah, they would be the best option because for $60 annually, you could release an unlimited amount of videos to Vivo. So you could put up your whole catalog on Vivo for $60 annually and keep 100% of the revenue. So it's like something like DistroKid, you got to pay $35, $20 to $35 annually for digital distribution. And then you would have to pay $99 on top of that annually for Vivo. And the other competitors for Vivo would be like Symphonic, which is charging you like $95 per video and taking 30% of revenue. So, you know, this is why Venice would probably be the best option. And again, I got a discount for them too in the description box, 25% off for Venice. So it's like, but yeah, this is what you're looking at now. You're looking at your own website. You're looking at e-commerce solutions. You're looking at Vivo and trying to gauge, okay, well, who is not playing this game? Now, YouTube monetizes differently. So every video runs an ad and they're paying you for each ad that runs on the video. So they're not kind of subject to what's happening now. But pretty much all streaming platforms are going to end up with some type of system like this because it's the major labels that are basically demanding that they do this. So it started with Deezer. Now Spotify is implementing something like this, and all the other streaming platforms are probably next. All of them are probably next, right? One by one, it's all going to happen to all of them. Now, if you in the building and you're watching, tap in, say what's up in the comments or in the chat room so I can shout you out. I'm about to do the roll call right quick. Take questions, post comments. Let me know what you feel. Let me know how you thinking about it. Hold on. So, as usual, we got my man Long Distance Traveler in the building. We got Big Bank Reed in the building. Good to see you in here, man. What up, brother? Salute. We got Seven Moons. We got NRG. What up, my guy? And we got Dynasty. 05 Dynasty. Jockey B. What up? Normalized Audio. What's good? Asa Elliott. What's popping? We got the usual suspects in the building. It's good to see all y'all, man. I miss y'all. Word up, man. Definitely miss y'all, man. But yeah, this news is crazy, man. And at the end of the day, it's just straight up abusive. In my opinion, it's abusive. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but I definitely feel like it's abusive. Cause it's looking at and just looking at the landscape and saying, who can we take from? Who can we take from and get away with it? So to me, it's kind of like a bully scanning a room for the smallest guy in the room and then going to that guy and punching him in the face. That's what this is to me. And I mean, listen, maybe if artists care to, right, you could start some type of petition and lobby your congressman to kind of like do something about it. Because I'm telling you, this has to be an antitrust violation. They have something called the Sherman Act. And the Sherman Act is supposed to prevent companies from conspiring to rig pricing and payment and things of that nature to like limit competition. And that's effectively what this is. It's major labels conspiring with Spotify to limit competition. And it's interesting for me to watch and see where digital distributors land on this and who says something. I know TuneCore spoke up when Deezer implemented its plan and started talking about implementing a type of monetization threshold. So I want to know, like, what does City Baby have to say about this? I expect DistroKid to say nothing because them guys, man, all they care about is getting your $20. They're not standing for nothing. As long as you give them your $20, they are just gonna quietly take it, and they're in Spotify's pocket. So I expect nothing out of them. But I want to see with Ditto, with CD Baby, with TuneCore, with 1RPM. I want to see what they got to say about this. Because I mean, this is aimed at them, really. I mean, because artists might say, and if we're being honest, artists might say, okay, well, what's the threshold? And they might go in, hey, let's start streaming clubs where we all agree to stream each other's music to reach the threshold, right? And then we start getting paid. And that's probably why Spotify is like, we're not going to reveal the number. Because if they reveal the number, then everybody can kind of conspire to reach the number and be eligible for monetization. So you have people that would engage in streaming fraud to just cross the threshold, because that's effectively what this would do. Encourage more people to engage in streaming fraud. But at the same time, Spotify is announcing that along with this monetization threshold, they are going to start implementing financial fines on digital distributors whose artists are caught engaging in streaming fraud. So they are going to start penalizing a financial penalty to digital distributors whose artists are caught engaging in streaming fraud, which means you're going to start costing them money, which means they are going to start adopting a zero tolerance policy where once they catch you, you're out. And now, you know, they talking about like effectively some type of global database where once you're out, your name gets added to a list, and then no distributor will allow you to be able to distribute music from them. So streaming fraud isn't going to be the answer. You're not going to be like, well, okay, well, I'll just rig it. Nope. Because they are forcing these digital distributors to ban you. So that's not going to be the solution, you know? Word up. We got GN Hard 87, man. Yeah. So let me see what people talking about in here. Long distance traveler said, wow, it went to commercial in the middle of a live stream. Yeah, YouTube. And that's the other thing too. We're just like power and control. In November, YouTube is implementing a new rule that removes a creator's ability to decide how their channel is monetized. Like right now, you can decide whether you want pre-roll ads, post-roll ads, mid-roll ads, non-skippable, unskippable, or whatever have you. Come November, YouTube will decide what type of ads run on your channel. So if they say, hey, you know what, we make more money from non-skippable ads, then channels will start to get non-skippable ads. And there's nothing you can do about it other than not putting your stuff on YouTube. That's about it. So listen, man, I appreciate you guys. I love y'all. And I say, please go to the Pay Us No Mind website, sign up, become a member there, you know, and that way we could start to kind of like wrangle control from some of these institutions, man. I'm offering myself. I'm saying, hey, man, I will help you. Whoever needs assistance, reach out. You know, we got to start building outside of this system. Yeah. '05 Dynasty says they are all crooks. I mean, yeah, they corporations. Evil Corp. Normalized Audio says we still have some pizza. I mean, not much. You know? GN Hard 87 says, I'm still trying to find the best distribution services. Now I see I'll be making less money when I do drop an album. Yeah, that's the other aspect of this, right? Again, that's why I'm saying it would be interesting to see where the digital distributors fall on this. Because I would say the vast majority of artists that are jumping into DistroKid and TuneCore and stuff like that, this impacts them because they won't be making no money. And if they're not making any money, then it doesn't make sense for them to use a DistroKid. Doesn't make sense for them to do it. You know, digital distribution doesn't make sense. So then they're losing clientele. That's a lot of money that they're losing, you know, and they're not incentivized to have artists that are generating a bunch of streams because they don't get a percentage of the revenue. So DistroKid doesn't take a percentage of your revenue. So they don't care how many streams you get. All they care is if you pay $20 a year. Same thing with TuneCore, you know? So it's like at the end of the day, if artists aren't making money, they're not going to do it. And that's going to take away money from them. So it's interesting to see where they fall on this. Yeah, man. Also, I appreciate you dropping these videos and dissecting the game for us and keeping it real with us. No doubt, man. It's no problem. DMP Network, what's up, man? What's good, brother? I'm all right, man. Yeah, man. So it's like all of this is wild and crazy, but it's only going to get worse because these companies are just looking to maintain control and make sure they make the most money. That's what they're looking for, you know? And the same way they're looking out for their own self-interest is the same way we have to look out for our self-interest. And believe it or not, you do have a degree of power in this, you know? Because, pardon me, guys. Because like I was saying, if you upload your music to Audio Mac, let's say everybody says, I'm not going to even put my music up on Spotify. I'm just putting it up on Audio Mac and sending everybody there. People end up going there and building music libraries there and then canceling their Spotify subscriptions because all of the music that they love, they can't find there. Remember, Spotify's strength is, hey, you got access to all of the music here. If people don't have access to all of the music, then they can't justify the subscription and they lose subscribers. That is why they are not banning artists, because that's the way that you would drive more revenue for people at the top, is just to cap it and say, hey, we're not going to take music from all of these other guys. But again, doing that means they have a smaller library of music, which means that the users that are paying $10 a month get frustrated by not being able to find the stuff that they love and ultimately cancel. So that's why they're not going to say, hey, don't bring your music here. They want your music, you know, no matter if it gets 1 stream, 10 streams, because that one person that's streaming your song once a month even might be willing to cancel for your song because it moves them that much, you know? You never know, right? So yeah, man, that's the thing. Yeah. Like I said again, though, man, I'm here for any artists that want to reach out to try to build something else. And at the end of the day, what we should be doing is building up our own things. That's what we need to start doing, building up our own things. They don't want us there. Hey, don't fight to be someplace where people don't want you. You know, you got people working to get rid of you. Hey, all right, cool, no problem. You know, I go where I'm wanted. I go where I have value, where people care about me, you know, and they want to support me, and focus on that. Because really, these platforms got way too much power. And we did it to ourselves. We gave them this power. When artists was like, hey, man, you know what? Damn, I could get streams and earn revenue. Everybody started focusing on it, running Facebook ads, driving people to Spotify, doing playlist promotions, doing all of this other stuff. And it was always crazy. Always crazy. Because I don't know any artists that are recouping the cost of what they've invested in building up anything on Spotify. You got artists spending thousands of dollars a year, from Facebook ads to influencer campaigns to playlist promotion campaigns, all of this stuff. And they're just losing money. You know, at the end of the day, they get geeked off for getting streams, period, because it's like, damn, I had under 1,000 streams. Now I got 10,000 streams, but they didn't make back any of the money that they spent and probably never will. So it's like, to spend that money to get 0.003 of a cent per stream doesn't make any sense. You know, at the end of the day, the only thing that's there is that it can be more of a reward system with streaming, where you see something more immediately. So with sending people to a website, if an artist was advertising and sending people to their website, it would be, okay, people got there, but nobody bought it. That's all you would see. Damn, I'm getting no sales, no sales, no sales, no sales. And that can be discouraging. Streams, despite the fact that you don't make any real money, you see the streams. So you advertise, you get streams, and you feel like stuff is happening. Like, wow, look at all of these streams I'm getting. Stuff is happening, right? But it's an illusion because you're not making any money. It's just activity. And the goal of the activity is to what? Get more exposure. And it doesn't make sense because when you are advertising on social media, you're advertising to get exposure. So you're advertising and you're exposing your music to thousands of people to get them to go to Spotify in the hopes that Spotify's algorithm adopts your music to expose it to thousands of people. You know what I'm saying? It's like you've already exposed it to thousands of people with the ad. You've already done it. Yeah, man. But yeah, I got a headache. This cold is starting to get to me. So I'm gonna tap out. I appreciate all of y'all for tapping in. Again, man, much love to y'all. Let's build. Reach out to me. Let's make something happen, man. Visit the Pay Us No Mind website. Become a member. It's free to become a member. I got some restricted content up there, but it's free to become a member. And that way I can be able to reach y'all more easily. As always, y'all can hit me up at Pay Us No Mind on Instagram, at Pay Us No Mind on Twitter, payusnomind@gmail.com, and payusnomind.info, the website. This is Gift signing off. Pay Us No Mind. Peace, good people. One. Oh, man. YouTube won't allow